Hey house guests, welcome to another Big Brother 19 updates and spoilers. Did you notice I'm not Maddie? I'm filling in. It freaking figures. The biggest day of the season so far, and Maddie has the day off. This is a lot, guys. And our house guest of the day is Katie Schnaub. What up, Katie? Thanks for the support on Patreon. We appreciate. Now let's get right to it because I got like six sick pages of notes to go through. This is a lot. Like I said, it's the biggest day of the season so far. If there's any other bigger days than this, OMG. Alright, so the feeds were down until 3:52 Big Brother time. It was down for like 4 hours, and we find out that Mark won the brand new Temptation competition, or as Maddie likes to call it, the TC. And the loser was Jason. Oh, he came in last place, which means that he is the third nominee. So Elena basically like, I'm happy for you, Mark, but guess what? I really feel like I'm going home this week. I don't know how I don't know, maybe she's got something going on that we don't know about. Paul is lying to her and telling her, guaranteeing her safety, but she's on his list to be a target. So I guess she does know what's going on. She's really trying to play the sympathy card. She's like, I don't have a job to go home to or an apartment, but I guess it'll be great because I'm gonna go home and live with my mom and my dog. Oh well. It really sucks. I mean, it makes you think, like, when you get on this show, they're not like magically holding your job for you at home usually. I mean, you've got to make some sacrifices to be on this show, so I feel kind of bad for the people who have like regular real jobs. Like, wouldn't be anything for me to go on this show except that my husband would have to get someone to do the 1,000 jobs that I do around here. But for people who have like a 9-to-5, it's a lot. So yeah, they're wearing tutus after the competition. I believe this was some sort of a spin and then run and do a task type thing. So I'm sure this is going to be hilarious on Sunday's show because I'm sure a lot of people went up in flames, crashing and whatnot. Plus the tutu factor. Mark in a tutu. Matt in a tutu. Alex in a tutu, that I can see. But the guys must have been hilarious. Alright, so Jess and Cody didn't compete because if they had decided to throw their hat in the ring and compete, it would have been a red flag for Paul more than it is already. I mean, he knows something's up. They're just yakking about this way too much for it not to be up. And there's sirens. Okay. Pay no attention to the sirens. We're talking about Big Brother 19. Alright, so they have to keep up this charade of having like ultimate power, ultimate grand supreme power. Paul would have been very suspicious, but like I said, he's still suspicious. So Cody actually hated not competing because he's an alpha. And they want to compete in every damn thing that comes along. So Jason was a little upset during the competition too that Alex was kind of rooting for Matt. But I think probably she was just rooting for Matt because she didn't want Mark to win. Alright, so lots of scrambling. Paul did not have a lot of time to get his noms together because when they shoved that extra competition in there, I think it was only like 2.5 hours until time to make noms. So he was going around talking to all of the people on his team, aka everybody except Jess and Cody. And he's got a couple of options. His first option is to put up Jess and Cody. But on the off chance that he's not allowed to do that, it's not going to work out. So he's got to come up with plan B. And his plan B is to put up Elena and Josh. He's fine with either of them going if one of them wins the veto. But his target's going to be Elena. She's a pretty smart cookie, and I think she really worries him because she can be a force to be reckoned with, I think. If she can play the game long enough. And, you know, if she ever gets away from him and stops drinking that Paul Kool-Aid. Alright, so he doesn't want to put Christmas on the block because she probably won't be able to compete in a veto competition if there is one. So he doesn't want to risk that because he wants to be able to have one of the nominees win the veto, take themselves down so that he can put Cody up, because he's pretty sure that Cody is not included in that safety hex that Jess has. Paul then changes his mind and says, you know what? I don't think I want Elena to be playing in that veto competition. She scares me a little bit too much. So why don't I have a toss-up between Raven, Matt, and Alex, and then Josh will be the pawn. Then he decides that he's probably just going to go for Jess and Cody. He's going to give it a shot. He doesn't think the hex is for Cody, like I said before, so if Jess can't be nommed, then he'll put up Elena in her place. Alright, so the feeds go down for like an hour. Paul makes his nominations, and this is the beginning of all hell breaking loose in the house. It's insane. Jess and Cody are invited up to the, well, Jess is invited up to the HOH room by Paul. Jess insists that Cody come up with them, and Paul is like, I really need to explain why I did this. You know, everybody in the house was telling me to put you guys up. And she just cannot stop saying, you're not going to be happy. You don't know what you've done. Thursday, you're going to be surprised. You're not going to like it. Your HOH is a waste. Paul keeps telling her, you know, just take it down a notch. And Cody starts chiming in because he thinks that is disrespectful to Jess, which I don't think it really was, but, you know, he's an alpha. And then that gets under Paul's skin, and Paul's got to be the loudest one in the room. I do agree with Cody that Paul is a real center of attention type of guy, and he's got to be performing for everybody else, and nobody else can be better than him. So they start butting heads, and Paul is like, and Paul's like, you know what? You need to leave. I want to talk to Jess. You leave. He throws Cody out. Jess goes with Cody, and he's like, wait, I want to talk to you. And she's like, no, check please. And then Paul goes down to the kitchen and starts telling everybody what went on up in the room, and like, he's amazing, and Cody's 12, and he starts taking a dump on his military background. You know, I don't even know if he was in the military. He's acting like a jerk, and he's a D. So Josh is sitting in his freaking high chair at the kitchen counter, and he decides that he's going to start chiming in and saying how much he hates Cody, and Cody stinks like a skunk, and he's just going on and on and on, and no one's paying any attention to him at first until Mark starts to join in and saying, Josh, shut up. But then Josh, he pulls out the D word. And that is Mark's kryptonite. It's Dominique. He brings up the whole Dominique thing about how Mark was her friend and he didn't stand up for her, and that was horrible. He accuses Mark of hiding behind Cody like he's a little toddler baby. He needs protection. They're both douchebags. He doesn't need anyone to protect him because he is a full-grown man. And Paul chimes back in. Cody's nuts. He replays the whole thing over and over and over for everybody that decides to come in the kitchen. Cody and Jess are out talking. I believe she's telling him, I can't believe you did that upstairs at that point while everybody's in the kitchen. Paul still wants to talk to Jess. They go and they talk. The kitchen quiets down a little bit. It was a classic anybody want cake moment. Jason said, anybody want to play Twister? It was so underrated. Oh my God. So then Josh goes through these cycles of, you know, going nuts, and then he quiets down a little bit. Well, he started up again on Mark. He really unleashed on him this time. He was like, you're a coward, you're a joke, you're a bully, you're a shit. Mark was very, very amazingly calm during most of this. Kevin jumps in there. He tries to tell Josh to, you know, hey, take it down a notch or 12. But Kevin doesn't have much effect on Josh, because once Josh gets started up, there is no stopping him. He even said, I should shit on you on TV. Do you really think Julie Chen would allow that, Josh? You're bland AF. But the part where it really exploded was when Josh said that Mark couldn't, well, that Elena could do better than Mark. And Mark did not like that. Then he called him a flip-flopper. Meanwhile, the whole time Raven and Matt are like hiding out in the Apple Lounge under a blanket doing whatever, just hanging out. I don't even know if they knew what was going on at that point, even though this is as loud as F. So then Josh is imitating Mark, pretending that he's a dog, running around panting, hot for Cody's nuts. Josh leaves. He comes back again 1 minute later. He's like, I'm a man, don't get in my face, I'm gonna lay you out if you do that. So Mark laughs. I mean, the whole time Mark is just like repeating back to Josh what he's saying, and he was just like, ugh. And Josh runs and gets the pots and pans at this point and tries to do his best evil dick, falls very short. He runs over to Mark banging the pots and pans, and Mark is like, alright, that's it, I can't take this shit anymore, and gets up and charges Josh, and Josh is like, ah. Mark grabs the pans out of Josh's hands, and they're like, cut the feeds, cut the feeds, because there was about to be freaking bloodshed. They cut the feeds right after Mark has his hand in the air with a pan and is like, you know, he's like almost hitting Josh with it, and then the feed's cut. Whoa. Whoa, that was a lot. So, whew. Kevin's always the bouncer too. Kevin always runs in the middle of these things. He always just happens to be there. I guess with 7 kids, he's had a lot of practice breaking up fights. So, whew, 3 minutes later, we see Mark and Cody talking in one of the bedrooms, and it's a real we just screwed up talk. They're both having lady troubles. Cody is like ready to throw the towel in. He's like, if I win the veto, I'm gonna take Jess down and I'm gonna tell her not to use the hex and send me home, because I'm just no good for her. I'm just no good for her. Her game is crap with me around, so I should probably just let her play the game and just bow out and like drop out of society and hide somewhere. So, Mark, on the other hand, is having women trouble with Elena, in his mind anyway. He was kind of pissed that she did not stand up for him when Josh said that she could do better than Mark. He didn't like that. She was just laughing. But then Mark was going on and on and on about how he thought Josh was a bitch for flinching. I'm sorry, when you're a Frankenstein-sized person and you come at somebody else with a pan in your hand raised like you're gonna hit them, they're gonna flinch. It's not like a bitch move or anything. It's safety. They don't want to get smacked in the face with a pan. I mean, who knows what you're capable of? You're like the Incredible Hulk. How did he know you weren't going to turn green and like go apeshit on him? Alright, so Paul tells Jessica in the other room, in the bathroom I think it was, Cody ruined your game. Which is true. I mean, he was going on and on and on about it, and she was getting convinced of it. At least she was listening to him and agreeing for the most. I mean, how could you not agree? Night and day when Cody was there and when Cody was not there. All right, so later on, like 8:25 Big Brother time, Josh is back at it in the kitchen. And he's got the pots and pans. He's doing his carnival song and he's running around. And he's calling out everybody, saying Cody's crying in the other room. And I mean, he's not just saying it, he's yelling it. And he's banging these pots and pans. Nobody's taking the bait though. They're just letting him, he's like a little toddler baby who wants to watch mommy cook dinner. And you put them on the floor with the pots and pans and a little cabinet just special for them. And you let them do their thing and they pretend to make noise and cook and everything. So that's basically what Josh is doing. So Kevin tells Paul, Jess says she can't do it no more with Cody. You know, because that whole thing with you was inappropriate. And then Paul and Elena, he's telling her, I told you to trust me. Mark's no good for your game. You really need to rip off this relationship like a band-aid and dump him. Otherwise, he's just going to drag you down. So Paul is really like trying to break up the couples big time. Josh got called into the diary room and the diary room said, enough of this shit. You're going to have to stop. It's all fun and games until CBS gets sued. So we don't want any more altercations or near altercations going on here. So Christmas even talks to Jessica and is like, you need to drink the Paul Kool-Aid. Paul will keep you safe. Don't worry. He won't nominate you. Everybody's trying to get to Jess to get rid of Cody. Mark and Elena have their little breakup chat. Mark was bullied, but you know what? You probably shouldn't have charged Josh, but I have to say I respect him for it lasting as long as he did without like freaking out. He didn't actually hit him, and Josh admitted that later on. What did you expect him to do? Elena is, I think she's just looking for any reason to cut Mark loose because she's worried about her game. I mean, she's a big threat in the house. You know what? I think she'd be a big threat even without him. So I think Paul is just trying to split them up. All right, so Paul tells Mark, you need to take this week of safety and un-F yourself. You need to get back into the good graces of the house, break up with your girlfriend, play separately, and use this week to reinvent yourself. So Mark's like, okay. So Jess and Cody. All right, this is their conversation in a nutshell. She did not like how he reacted to Paul, and she is a little bit scared by that. She doesn't want somebody who's going to be getting into altercations, a hothead. He just wants her to be happy. That is who he truly is. He was that person who's the hothead. And he can't make her happy. He tried to be a different person, to change when he came back into the house, but that's not really him. And if she doesn't like that, well then they probably shouldn't be together. He was better in the game when he didn't try and work on his social game, when he was just like but she can't not use the hex on him. She just can't not do it. So I guess that means she wants to use the hex on him to save them both. So Cody even goes as far as moving out of their room together without telling her. And in the meantime, Mark apologizes to Josh. Mark says, don't stop tormenting me. And Josh says, don't worry, I won't stop. Jess and Cody talk again later on. Again, he wants her to be happy, but he's afraid that he cannot make her happy. She doesn't want a hatch blower hothead. But then they get in bed together. They argue, then they get in bed together, they fall asleep, have-nots get to eat at midnight. Kevin was thrilled. He had some eggs, he was so happy. Paul wants to pick Elena Alex, and Christmas as the have-nots this week, and Elena is okay with it because she wants the full Big Brother experience. She wants to try out slop. Christmas and Alex, however, not so much. But that's not the official announcement yet. That was just Paul throwing it out there. Alright, so there is an announcement from Big Brother in the living room. House guests, get your A's to the living room. The Stormwatch competition is the veto competition this week. The first announcement was about Hurricane Jillian. All of the announcements that they had given through the night were about the evicted house guests with different stats and all, you know, you had to like study it and memorize it and everything. So everybody's studying except for Jess and Cody. They're holed up in their bedroom, asleep. They're going from arguing to sleeping, from arguing to sleeping, mostly sleeping. He's trying to dump her, and she is totally Titanicking him. She does not want to let go. She's never going to let go. Then they get in the spoon position, go back to sleep. Paul says, get the coffee and keep it coming because, baby, we are going to be up all night. And Paul sent Josh to go spy on Jess and Cody to see if they were studying. And Josh said, I can hear them through the door. They're studying. They weren't. They were talking about their relation. Alright, so the announcements all night. Mark fell asleep on the couch. He missed several of the announcements. They were all quite clever. All weather puns. It was fun. I can't wait to see the competition. I can't wait to see both competitions, the Temptation one and the Veto one, play out this week. Because that was one of my favorite competitions. And how fitting that it was one that Paul won last season. Okay, so everybody, well, the last announcement was at 6:45ish in the morning. After that, everybody got a couple hours of sleep, and the announcement of the have-nots was made the next morning, and officially now it's Elena, Christmas, and Alex. And of course, this is Mark's second week, which I think is actually Mark's third week in a row. So Paul actually can't wait for the girls to start farting from the slop because they have been giving the guys such a hard time. Alright, it's time to pick players for the veto, and in addition to Paul, Jason, Jessica, and Cody, Kevin and Raven were selected, and Christmas will be the host. She gonna roll in on her little scooter? That just kills me. Alright, so Elena goes to Mark's bedroom. Well, his bed. He doesn't get the whole room. And she starts kissing him and rubbing him. I guess he was like kind of crying or whatever, but I hate when people do that. Didn't they break up? When you break up with somebody, you gotta like be cold turkey about it. I think she is still interested in him, kind of, but maybe outside of the house. I think she said that, you know, maybe you could take me on a date outside of the house, but right now we've got to keep this separate, but I'll just keep kissing and rubbing on you anyway. Alright, well, Kevin tells Jess, if Cody goes, watch out for her, but no sex though. I'm married, you know. Kevin is freaking hilarious. I mean, if they do another season where Yvette comes back, I hope it's Kevin, because he's freaking amazing. Alright, so if Paul wins the veto, he's planning on using it on Jason because that will leave Jess and Cody up on the block. Obvi. So Paul is also trying to get Jess hardcore not to use the hex this week. He is desperate to get Paul out. He does not want Paul on jury, and he's trying to sell the idea of how the entire house will be pissed because they are all just playing for jury, and they want that extra, they want that spot on the jury so that they get that guaranteed paycheck. And if Cody takes one of their spots, they are just going to be so pissed, and it won't be fair because they really want to be there, and Cody is just, he's not worthy. So apparently it's not working on Jess because she's totally planning on using the hex. Alright, if Jess or Cody don't win HOH next week, they're in trouble. One of them is definitely going, and they will not be in jury. One of them is not going to be in jury. I'm sure the other one will, obviously. All right, so I got to hand it to them. They keep talking it out. He is being very honest with her. He's like, this is who I am. And she's like, well, I'm not running away, am I? So I've made my decision. The feeds went down at 2:36 Big Brother time, and they just came back a little while ago, 7:30 Big Brother time. That was a long competition. And we find out Paul won the veto. Surprise, surprise. He won it last season too. I'm a little I'm pissed that they had that one, and it was one that Paul had won previously. Couldn't they dig back a little bit further in their veto repertoire and find something that Paul hadn't played before? I mean, it is a fun competition, everything, but we just saw that one. Well, that brings me to the end of my notes. That was a lot. But Maddie will be back tomorrow. We're going to pick it up there with the POV. I hope I didn't F this up too badly. I want to thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And until next time, much love.